I never thought my engagement would end over a text message. 6 months in, Jessica and I were already planning our future together. 3 happy years of building a relationship, all crumbling from one heated argument that spiraled beyond repair. When my phone lit up with her message, I stared in disbelief. I am staying at my ex's place tonight. Deal with it. Something inside me shifted. I suddenly understood exactly how to deal with this betrayal and disrespect. Before I tell you how I handled this situation, let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like and subscribe button if you have ever had your boundaries tested by someone you loved. The day had started like any other. I woke up beside Jessica, her blonde hair splayed across the pillow, completely unaware that everything would change before the sun set again. We had been together for 3 years before I proposed 6 months ago on a beach at sunset. Classic, maybe a little cliché, but it was perfect for us. At least I thought it was. I work as a software developer for a tech company downtown. The hours can be long sometimes, but I love what I do. Jessica works in marketing for a local company that specializes in sustainable products. Her creativity always amazed me. We met through mutual friends at a housewarming party for our friend Thomas. I remember spotting her across the room laughing with such genuine joy that I felt drawn to her immediately. We talked for hours that night, missing most of the party because we were so engrossed in conversation on the back porch. Our connection felt different from anything I had experienced before. We shared dreams of buying a house in the suburbs, having 2 kids, and a golden retriever named Max. Jessica would talk about how she wanted to start her own marketing firm one day, and I supported her completely. We were team partners in every sense of the word, or so I believed. Looking back, I should have noticed the signs. About 2 months before everything fell apart, Jessica started becoming distant. Small changes at first. She began checking her phone, constantly turning it away when I would walk by. When I would ask about her day, her answers became vague and short. I chalked it up to work stress. Her company was launching a new campaign, and I knew she was under pressure to deliver results. The day of our argument started with me planning something special. Our 3-year anniversary of dating was coming up, and I had organized a surprise weekend getaway to a cabin in the mountains. Jessica loved hiking and being outdoors, and I had found the perfect spot with trails nearby and a hot tub on the deck for stargazing. I was excited to tell her about it that evening. When Jessica got home from work, something was off. She barely acknowledged me when she walked in, dropping her bag by the door and heading straight for the kitchen to pour a glass of wine. When I asked how her day was, she snapped at me. I can still hear her voice, sharp and cold. "Do you have to ask me that every single day?" Like I am being interrogated, I was taken aback. This was not my Jessica. Not the woman I had fallen in love with and asked to marry me. I tried to diffuse the situation, suggesting we order from her favorite Thai restaurant and relax for the evening. "You always do that, Gibson," she said, rolling her eyes. "You always think you can just fix everything with pad thai and Netflix. Sometimes I need space. You are so controlling." Controlling. The word hit me like a slap. In 3 years, not once had Jessica accused me of being controlling. If anything, I had always supported her independence, encouraged her girls' nights out, her hobby classes, her work trips. I stood there speechless as she continued. "You plan everything without asking me. You decided where we would live, when we would get engaged, how we spend our weekends." I feel suffocated. Her accusations made no sense. We had chosen our apartment together after looking at 15 different places. I had asked her multiple times if she was ready for engagement before planning the proposal. Our weekends were always collaborative decisions. Something else was going on, and I had no idea what. I tried to stay calm and understand where this was coming from. "Jessica, is something else bothering you? This does not sound like you. If there is something wrong, we can talk about it." That just made her angrier. "Now I cannot even express my feelings without you psychoanalyzing me. This is exactly what I am talking about. I need space." With that, she grabbed her purse and stormed out of our apartment, slamming the door behind her. I stood there completely bewildered by what had just happened. It was as if a stranger had possessed the woman I loved. Hours passed with no word from her. I texted asking if she was okay and when she would be home. No response. I called, but it went straight to voicemail. By 10 at night, I was genuinely worried. I was about to call her friends when my phone pinged with a message. "I am staying at my ex's place tonight. Deal with it." Time seemed to stop. My ex. There was only one ex she could be referring to. Ryan. They had dated for 2 years before we met. Jessica had mentioned occasionally that they had stayed friends, which I had never minded. I trusted her completely. Or I had until this moment. I sat down heavily on our couch, my mind racing with images of Jessica with Ryan. What was she doing? Was this just to hurt me? To make me jealous? Or was something more going on that I had been blind to? The initial shock gave way to a deep aching hurt that settled in my chest. Then came waves of anger. How could she do this? Was our entire relationship a lie? Had she been seeing him behind my back all along? But as the night wore on, sitting alone in the apartment, we had decorated together, surrounded by photos of our happier times. Something shifted in me. A moment of clarity emerged through the emotional storm. This text was not just about her needing space. It was calculated to hurt me, to provoke a reaction, and in that realization I found strength. I would not play this game. I would not chase after someone who could so casually disregard my feelings and our commitment to each other. The night dragged on endlessly, as I paced our apartment, checking my phone every few minutes, despite knowing there would be no messages from Jessica. I tried calling her again around midnight, but it went straight to voicemail. The deliberate silence was deafening. I messaged a few mutual friends, casually asking if they had heard from Jessica without revealing the situation. Most had not, but our friend Amanda hesitated before responding. When I pressed her, she reluctantly admitted that Jessica had been meeting Ryan for coffee occasionally over the past few months. Just as friends Gibson, Amanda added quickly. She said they had some work connections in common. But why keep it from me? I had never objected to her maintaining friendships with exes. The secrecy was what hurt. Amanda had no answer for that. Just an uncomfortable silence that spoke volumes. Unable to sleep, I found myself doing something I never thought I would. Jessica and I shared an iPad, which she sometimes used for browsing. She had stayed logged into her accounts, never thinking she needed to hide anything from me. Until now, I had respected her privacy completely. But the doubt was consuming me. What I found sent ice through my veins. Conversations with Ryan going back months. Complaints about me. About our relationship, about feeling trapped by the engagement. In one message she had written, "Sometimes I wonder if I made a mistake saying yes." Ryan was all too happy to agree, pointing out all the ways I apparently fell short compared to him. There were no explicit messages about an affair, but there was an emotional intimacy that felt like a betrayal all its own. And her social media activity showed dozens of interactions with him that she had hidden from her public profile. Little hearts and comments on photos going back nearly a year. I closed the tablet and sat in the dark living room, watching the shadows move across the wall as cars passed outside. How had I missed this? Had I been so caught up in my own happiness that I had ignored the signs of her discontent, or had she hidden it so well that anyone would have been fooled? Sleep was impossible. I spent the night replaying our relationship in my mind, searching for clues I might have missed. Morning came, and still no word from Jessica. No explanations, no apologies, nothing. I called my friend Thomas, needing someone to talk to who knew us both. His response was not what I expected. Man, I never wanted to say anything, but I always got a weird vibe from her. Remember that holiday party at my place last year when you went out for more beer? She was flirting with my cousin Jason the whole time you were gone. Nothing major, but enough that Alicia noticed and mentioned it to me later. Another revelation I had been blind to. Another crack in the perfect relationship I thought we had. I am so sorry, Gibson Thomas continued. But honestly, this might be a blessing in disguise. If she can do this now, imagine what would happen after you were married. He was right, and deep down I knew it. Regardless of what explanation Jessica might eventually offer, something fundamental had changed. The trust was broken, and without trust, what did we have? As morning turned to afternoon, I made a decision. I would not chase her. I would not beg for explanations or forgiveness for crimes I had not committed. I would protect myself emotionally and otherwise. I called my friend Jacob, who worked as a lawyer, and asked for advice on protecting my assets and what my rights were regarding our shared apartment. I documented everything: the text, the conversations I had, found the timeline of events, not in a vindictive way, but as self-protection. Then I called our landlord. The lease was in both our names, but I had put down the entire security deposit, and my credit had been what secured us the place. He was sympathetic when I explained the situation in broad terms, and agreed that under the circumstances, changing the locks was reasonable, as long as I made arrangements for Jessica to collect her belongings. By late afternoon, the locks had been changed, and I had started carefully packing Jessica's essential items. Every piece of clothing I folded brought a fresh wave of pain. The silk blouse I had bought her for her birthday last year, the dress she wore on our first anniversary, memories woven into fabric that now felt like they belonged to a different life. I did not throw her things outside or damage anything in anger. That was not who I was. Instead, I treated her possessions with the respect that she had failed to show our relationship. Once her clothes, toiletries, and personal items were packed into 3 suitcases, I called her sister Lauren. Lauren and I had always gotten along well. She seemed shocked when I explained that I needed her to pick up some of Jessica's things but did not press for details. When she arrived, however, her expression told me she knew more than she was letting on. She has been talking about having doubts, Lauren admitted as she helped load the suitcases into her car. But I never thought she would do something like this. I am sorry, Gibson. You deserved better. I appreciate that, Lauren, I said, surprised by how steady my voice sounded despite the turmoil inside. Please let Jessica know that when she is ready to talk like adults, I will be willing to listen, but not before. After Lauren left, I sent Jessica a single text. Your essential items are with Lauren. I have changed the locks. When you are ready to talk like adults, let me know. The response was immediate and overwhelming. My phone exploded with calls and texts from Jessica alternating between rage and tearful pleas. How dare I lock her out? Who did I think I was? Then she was sorry. She had made a terrible mistake. She loved me. Could I please just talk to her? I did not respond. I turned off my phone and sat in the quiet apartment feeling strangely calm amidst the emotional hurricane I knew was brewing outside my door. 2 hours later, my phone lit up with a message from an unknown number. It was Ryan, surprisingly enough. He had screenshots of conversations with Jessica revealing that she had been lying to him too. She had told him we were on a break, that the engagement was practically over. He apologized, saying he never would have let her stay at his place if he had known the truth. Apparently, she had shown up at his door, in tears, spinning a tale of my controlling behavior and emotional abuse. Thank you for letting me know, I replied simply. Night was falling when the pounding on my door began. Jessica's voice, thick with tears, called my name over and over. I stood on the other side, my hand on the doorknob, every instinct telling me to open it, to take her in my arms, to forgive everything. But I did not move. Gibson, please. I know you are in there. I can explain everything. The neighbors poked their heads out, curious about the commotion. I still said nothing. Finally, her voice dropped to a desperate whisper that somehow carried through the door. I did not stay at his place, okay? I just said that to make you jealous. I stayed at a hotel. Please, baby, just open the door. I love you. I made a stupid mistake. And there it was. The manipulation laid bare. She had deliberately tried to hurt me, to provoke me, to make me jealous. And now that her plan had backfired, she wanted to minimize it as just a stupid mistake. If I do not answer, will you hurt yourself? I finally asked through the door, referring to her earlier veiled threats in her text messages. A pause. What? No, I would never do that. I just want to talk. Then we can talk tomorrow. In public. I will text you a time and place, I said calmly. For now, please leave before I have to call someone to escort you out. The threats came next. She would tell everyone I was abusive. She would take everything in the apartment. She would make me sorry. When none of that worked, she switched back to pleading, to promises of change, to declarations of love. I remained silent until eventually I heard her footsteps retreating down the hallway, punctuated by a sob that might have broken my resolve just 24 hours earlier. Exactly 1 week later, I sat at a corner table in a coffee shop downtown waiting for Jessica to arrive. I had chosen a public place deliberately, both to prevent a scene and to give myself the strength to stand firm in my decision. I had spent the week processing my emotions, consulting with friends, and even a therapist about how to handle this conversation. I felt centered and clear about what needed to happen. When Jessica walked in, I almost did not recognize her. Gone was the confident woman I had known. She looked smaller somehow, her eyes ringed with dark circles, her normally perfect hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. For a moment my heart ached for her, but I quickly reminded myself of why we were here. Thanks for meeting me, I said as she sat down across from me. Gibson, I am so sorry. She began immediately, her eyes filling with tears. I made a terrible mistake. I never meant to hurt you. I just felt so overwhelmed and confused, and I lashed out. I did not stay with Ryan, I swear. I went to his place to talk, but then I left and got a hotel room. I would never cheat on you. I listened without interrupting, noting how her explanation conveniently omitted the months of secret meetings and messages I had discovered. When she finished, I spoke calmly. Jessica, even if I believe that you did not stay the night with Ryan, which honestly I am not sure I do. That text was deliberately designed to hurt me. And what about the months of meeting him behind my back? The complaints about our relationship, the hidden conversations. Her face paled. You went through my private messages. After you told me you were staying at your ex's place. Yes, I did. I am not proud of it, but I needed to know what I was dealing with. And what I found showed me this was not a one-time lapse in judgment. This was a pattern of deception. She looked down at her hands. I was confused, having doubts, but I never acted on them. I love you, Gibson. You have to believe that. I believe you think you love me, I said softly, but love does not behave the way you did. Love does not try to hurt someone to get a reaction. Love does not manipulate, and most importantly, love does not lie. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the engagement ring she had left behind in her hasty exit. I have packed the rest of your things. Your sister can pick them up any time this week. I have also drawn up an agreement about splitting our shared possessions that I think is fair. You can review it with a lawyer if you want to. She stared at the ring, then at me, realization dawning in her eyes. Wait, you are ending our engagement. Just like that. Not just like that, Jessica. You ended it when you decided to use our relationship as a weapon. I just making it official. The tears came, then flowing freely down her cheeks. You cannot do this. We can work through this. People make mistakes. We can go to counseling. Please, Gibson. 3 years cannot end like this. It can, and it has, I said, feeling a strange sense of peace despite the pain. I will always care about you, Jessica. I hope you find what you are looking for. But I deserve someone who respects me enough to be honest even when it is difficult, especially when it is difficult. Her sadness transformed to anger in an instant. This is about your pride. Your ego could not handle one mistake. One time I hurt you, and you throw away everything we built. You are a coward, Gibson. I remained calm, which only seemed to infuriate her more. If that is what you need to believe, I cannot stop you. But we both know this was not one mistake. This was the culmination of months of deception. The text was just the final straw. She stormed out of the coffee shop, leaving the ring on the table between us. As I watched her go, I felt a complex mixture of grief and relief. Something precious had ended, but something important had been preserved: my self-respect. The aftermath was predictably messy. Mutual friends chose sides. Some believed Jessica's version of events, that I had overreacted to a momentary lapse in judgment. Others stood by me, having seen the signs I had missed. I lost some people I had thought were friends, but the ones who remained proved to be true allies. My friend Thomas became my rock during those difficult weeks, letting me crash at his place when I could not bear to be in the apartment alone, forcing me to get out and live my life when all I wanted was to withdraw. Amanda, who had initially kept Jessica's secret coffee meetings from me, made amends by helping me find a new apartment, a fresh start in a building across town. 3 months after that day in the coffee shop, I found myself in a much better place. Therapy had helped me process the relationship and its end. I had thrown myself into new hobbies, joining a rock climbing gym and a photography class I had always been interested in but never made time for. I reconnected with old friends I had neglected during my relationship with Jessica. Work was going well, with a promotion that challenged me in exciting new ways. The most unexpected outcome was the new sense of confidence I had developed. Setting and maintaining boundaries had strengthened me in ways I never anticipated. I learned to trust my instincts and value myself enough to walk away from situations that did not serve me, whether in relationships or other areas of life. 6 months after our breakup, I ran into Jessica at a grocery store. My stomach clenched at first, but as we exchanged brief, polite greetings, I realized something profound. I felt nothing. No anger, no lingering hurt, not even nostalgia. Just a neutral acknowledgement of someone I used to know. She had cut her hair short and was wearing a style I had never seen on her before. She looked well, and I was genuinely glad for that. Looking back now, I can see all the red flags I ignored, the small lies that seemed inconsequential, the gradual emotional withdrawal, the projection of her own guilt onto me with accusations of being controlling. I do not blame myself for missing these signs. When you love someone, you give them the benefit of the doubt. You choose to believe the best about them. There is nobility in that, even when it leads to pain. What I learned through this experience is that true love never seeks to hurt or manipulate. It does not test boundaries to prove devotion. Real love is honest, even when the truth is difficult. It respects the other person enough to give them agency in the relationship to let them make informed choices about their own life. I also learned that the most painful experiences often lead to the most important growth. Had Jessica never sent that text, I might have continued in a relationship with someone who did not truly respect me. I might have married her, built a life with her, never knowing the depth of her deception until much later when the stakes were even higher. The courage to walk away from something that is not serving you, even when walking away hurts, is one of the greatest forms of self-love. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It is necessary. And sometimes dealing with betrayal means choosing yourself even when every emotional instinct is screaming at you to forgive, to forget, to preserve what you had. Have you ever had to make the difficult decision to walk away from someone you loved? Did you struggle with setting boundaries, or was it clear what you needed to do? Let me know in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more stories about navigating life's most challenging relationships. Share this with someone who might need to hear that it is okay to choose their own well-being. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember that sometimes the most painful endings lead to the most beautiful beginnings.